All right. We're calling the public, the Salem East Lyme Cooperative meeting to order at 5:31. It's kind of weird to introduce ourselves around the table like we normally do.
But maybe, Brian, you want to just, maybe you could just mention, or
Everybody who's with
introduce Board of Ed members, or you just want to, we can see, actually, we can see everybody, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do it? We'll do an introduction and then we can do an introduction as well, which you can hear us verbally. Does that work?
Sean?
Yeah, Brian.
Okay.
Yeah,
do
Brian. You want us to start the introductions on the Salem side?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll start off for Salem. It's Sean Reith, I'm the chairman of the Salem Board of Education.
Levan Norwood, Salem Board of Education.
Tiffany Cunningham, Salem Board of Education.
Wait, Barry, hold on, I'm sorry.
Sue Spang, Vice Chair, Board of Education, Salem.
We'll have a quorum.
We won't have a quorum, Barry. Is that okay?
Hello, Christina Fontaine, Board of Education.
And Jen Rucci from the Salem Board of Education.
Everybody? I think so.
Is that everybody from Salem?
Kim,
Brian,
again,
are you
your
there?
business manager is here.
Oh, hi, I'm here.
All right.
All right, Barry, do you want to start on our end?
Hi, very simply.
Lee McFerrin-Jacques.
Hi, Elisa Bradley,
Candace Carlson.
Jamie Bar Shelburne.
Barry. Jeff Newton, superintendent.
Hi, Emily Spaziano, Assistant Superintendent, and Mariana Stevens, Director of Finance.
Anybody using? Nope. Do we have any public comment? You guys have, nope, Bonnie's leaving. Okay, nope, no public comment.
Okay.
All right, we have the approval of the cooperative committee meeting minutes from January 25th, 2021. If everyone's reviewed them.
I did not have a copy of that in my packet.
Okay. Anybody else and not have a copy of it in your packet?
Hey, Brian, is that something that Jen sent out?
I'm checking that right now. I don't see any minutes that were sent out.
Okay. We can put it off till next time. Yep, also we'll do 2 minutes for 2021 and 2022 at the next meeting. Is that okay with everyone? Yes, thank you. Everybody okay with that? Salem, are you okay with that?
Yeah, the only thing is by the time we have that next meeting, we probably will
Forgot.
get what we have talked about.
So I'll send an email to Jackie to see if she can push it out to Salem.
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Okay. All right, so the next agenda item is discussion action on reconciliation of the Salem tuition rates for 2020 to 2021.
All right, so I know Mariana and Kim have had a chance to discuss. So we'll kind of want to run through reconciliation.
Do you want me to go or do you want to start? It's up to you.
I can start for you. You usually get stuck with it, so.
I'll give you a chance this year.
There we go.
Okay. So, we start on page 1 of 7, and these are audited rates for the Salem people, just so you know. We always start out with total education cost, which comes from the EFS, Education Financial System, which is about 52 million. We deduct the special education cost, which is also another schedule on the EFS. So all these numbers are audited. And that gives you the regular education expenditures. Then we take the percentage of high school students in the East Lyme district, which is 39.3%. They multiply that by the regular education amount, which came to about 15 million. We divide that by the high school enrollment, and that gives us a cost per pupil of $14,963.52. And then because the East Lyme numbers have transportation in them, and we, Salem, we pay for our own transportation, that has to be taken out. So their transportation is about $1,209,000, and they divide that by the total enrollment, except for Salem students. And that comes to $489.75 a child. And so when you deduct that, the regular education cost per pupil comes to $14,473.77. And the surcharge was $75.50. So it was $14,549.27. You want to do SPED, Mariana?
Sure. So then the next piece is for the special ed students. In addition to the regular tuition rate, we call it a premium-based tuition. So we, as part of the agreement, so all of these are in the agreement as far as the expenditures that we are including and how we calculate it. So we include the salaries for our special ed teachers, administrators, any special ed supplies, and with the central office staff, we only charge 85% as part of special ed, and that's also something that is state driven. It's part of what Kim referred to earlier as part of the EFS. We're only allowed to charge 85% of those salaries to special ed, so that's that top piece. And then line 18 is high school special ed salaries, benefits, and supplies, and the backup for that is on page 3 of 7. You'll see the backup for that. So those are specific to the high school special ed. So that's charged at 100%. So again, we pay for the central office special education costs. We divide that by the district-wide special ed enrollment to get you a per pupil cost of $1,176. And then the high school is divided, the high school sped cost of line 18 is divided just by the high school special education enrollment. So you'll see that's $16,661. So when you add that, you get a premium tuition of $17,837.53, which to then get the special ed tuition, you add that number to the base tuition for regular ed, add the surcharge, and you get the $32,386.80. And as Kim said, this is all information that was audited and part of the EFS system that I report on an annual basis, that we all do, all districts do. So I don't know if there's any specific questions on this page. I can go to the next page then, because we're always so we're calculating the rate for 22-23 based, it's 2 years behind because we always want to have our audited and final numbers. So we're basing the 22-23 tuition on the 2021 reconciled numbers, and then we add, per the agreement, it's 2.5% a year that we add to it. So obviously over 2 years, it's 5. And then each year the surcharge goes up $1. So obviously for 22-23, we're adding $2 because we're basing it on 2 years. So when you look at the next page, I basically just carry over the numbers from the first page in the 2020-2021 reconciled tuition rate, increase the cost in each category by 5%, increase the surcharge by $2, and that's the those would be the tuition rates for 22-23 for next year. I don't know if there's any specific questions on that. And then the rest of the pages is really just support for the numbers in the first two, well, I shouldn't say the rest of the pages. The next 2 pages, 3 and 4. So I'm not going to spend time on that unless anyone has some specific questions on that. The next important page is page 5. And that's where we basically reconcile what you guys paid for 2021 versus what the actual amount due. So as you can see, we just take, because we bill you on a monthly basis starting in September through June. And so you can see the columns showing what you guys have paid for the 2021 year and what was owed. And then at the bottom, you can see the breakdown and see that there was an underpayment in the regular ed portion and an underpayment in the special ed portion for a total of 161,000 that was underpaid. And what happens with that underpayment is next year, we'll take that divided over 10 months and we'll add that to your bill for the next 10 months in 22-23. And then the last page is again, some more backup, just kind of all the enrollment numbers, how I got the enrollment numbers through our PSIS system, which is the state system that we file. It's all as of October 1st. And then the last page is just right from the agreement, and it just goes over the formula and how we talked about it. So again, I don't know if anyone has any questions. I'm not sure if there's any members on Salem side. I know we have one member here, so.
See any questions? Salem, do you have any questions?
Yeah, hi, sorry, I was on mute.
Okay,
Yeah, no, so well, first of all, thank you for walking through it. Every year we discuss it. But even for those of us who've been around on this one several years, reconciliation, it's still a head scratcher sometimes. I'm sure the new members probably will have some questions, so feel free if you want to bring it up. One quick thing on the reconciliation, did you identify, and maybe I just missed it, did you identify what the projected regular ed per pupil tuition rate's going to be this year?
That's on page 2 for 22-23 or?
Yes.
Yeah, it's on
Yeah.
page 2, Sean.
That's the 15,274.96.
Yeah, for regular, and then the 34,004.37 for special ed.
Gotcha. And Kim, is that 15,274.96? Is that what number we were talking about at the regular Salem board meeting the other?
Yes.
Okay. Now the 14,549.27, that's the reconciled. That wasn't the per pupil regular ed tuition rate that I think we thought of previously, right?
So that tuition was calculated based on the 18-19 reconciled amount. So when I look at the 18-19 reconciled amount,
Right.
We then tack on, 5% to both the regular ed and
Right.
the special ed rate. But if the budget increases more, our budget increased a little bit more, not
Yeah.
only. So we had a few of the items that, I'll just note. One, our percentage for high school student in 18-19 was 37.79%. And in this year, it's 39.3. So that's a big reason. That's a 2%. So our expenses before were allocated a little bit more toward some of the other schools and not as much at the high school. Now you're looking at about 1.5, 1.8% more being allocated to the high school. So that's a reason why. That's another reason why we increase in per pupil. Obviously, the more expenses allocated, the more per pupil the cost would be. And then we just had some increases in expenses as normal, typical expenses. And as part of our budget process, we added a social worker to the high school that wasn't there in 18-19.
Yeah.
And in 18-19, our high school special ed enrollment was 139. So that obviously lowers the per pupil in when we reconcile 2021 with only 131 students.
Right.
So obviously that would increase the per pupil cost. So, as part of various different factors, we're talking 2 years, and in 18-19, we also have, the pandemic and things. So our expenses are a little bit higher than
had initially anticipated.
Yeah, so, yeah, the reason I was bringing that up is because, just looking at, so we're in Salem, we're in the, just, I'm sure you guys are as well, but we're in the midst of our, 22-23 budget development cycle. And I think at our last board meeting, we were going through, in detail, and we noticed, the tuition rate, which I think, matches this, the $15,274.94. And, I pulled back the previous year when we were developing our budget. This is the non-reconciled, but this was the number that we ran with for regular ed tuition rates to develop our last year's budget. And the number I think we ran with was 14,162. Kim, you're the authority to tell me if I'm wrong on that, but when we put the budget together last year, that's what we went with. So when I do the comparison between the 15,274.94 and the 14,162, that's about $1,112 delta. And if we're estimating we're gonna have about 145 students attend the high school from Salem, that translates to about $161,000, which is about a 1.5% of our entire Salem budget. And when I go back historically, by the way, that's from a budgeting perspective, a non-reconciled number, that's almost 8% increase. And when I go back, for example, when I go back a couple years, the 21-22 delta from the prior year was 1.52% for regular ed. The year before it was 6.2%. The year before that it was -3%. And it trends like that. So 7.8, almost 8% is I think the largest year over year regular ed tuition increase that we've experienced, at least as long as I've got data to support it. And like I said, for Salem's budget, obviously is significantly smaller than what East Lyme's is, because the district's so much smaller, but $161,000 alone just on tuition increase on the regular ed side. It's just something that I'm expecting we're going to have to explain. And I know we did get a couple questions last year about that, but understanding a little bit of how that calculation gets put together and what drives the cost, I think that goes a long way to being able to help answer that. Kim, did I get that number right from before?
I think so. I don't have it right here, but it
It's
sounds
correct.
right.
That was the reconciled, that number.
Yeah, that we're paying this year.
Right,
Yeah.
is what you're paying this year based on the reconciled rates.
Yeah. So even, it just seems like it's even a double whammy. The tuition rates are going up 8%, translating $161,000. And on the reconciliation side, what's our percentage delta, Kim, on the reconciliation line item last year to this year?
You're asking me stuff I don't have here at home. I can tell you though, that just the 2021 rate between what we were paying and what the actual rate was, that increased 4.3%. So that alone is a lot of what we've got for our increase. It's not, I don't know that it's all in, it's not all in 1 year. So what I'm saying is in 2021, we actually paid $13,950 per child. And what we're saying is the actual rate, it was $14,549 per child. So that
Yeah.
already went up 4.2%. And then, you're going to add your 5% on for the 2 years. And
So without going into the way that, without cracking open the co-op agreement on defining how this calculation is done, which I know we've done before, does it stand to make sense where the tuition rate per student, in this particular case, it's a 7.8% increase. Overall, I'm not sure how far you guys are through your budget development process, but are you looking at something close to a 7 to 8% total overall year over year increase from last year to this year?
The overall budget,
Correct.
Sean?
Yeah.
no, not that high. We've made reductions, yeah. Yeah. We were up around 10 when we started.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions? East Lyme? Salem? I can't tell. Does anybody have? No. All right. So normally we either we approve or do not approve this Salem tuition rate. So I don't know if I can get a motion to approve the reconciled Salem tuition rates.
You, Sean. Make the-
This right here, this is what you want.
I'd like to move to approve the reconciled Salem tuition rates for 220, 221 as. Why does it say that? Stay tuned, folks.
Mariana, we are approving the tuition rates for 2020 to 2021, correct?
You're approving those, the reconciled rates, and then there should be another motion to approve
That's another,
the 2020
Yep.
to 2020.
that's another motion, yep.
Yep. there should be two
So this one.
Because it's on the others. Okay. All right. I'd like to move to approve the reconciled Salem tuition rates for 2021 as follows. Salem base tuition rate, $14,549.27. Salem total premium tuition rate, $32,386.80. A total underpayment of $161,000.25 presented.
Is there a second?
Someone from Salem has a second.
Should be.
I think it might need somebody from
Yeah.
Salem.
Yep. Is
Second.
anybody? Thank you, Jen.
Jen.
Jim,
Jen.
Jen.
Jen,
Jen
Thank
Rucci.
you.
So I think only the board chairs vote.
Yep.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
John, can you figure it out? All right, so motion passes. And then we have proposed Salem tuition rates for Salem students attending East Lyme High School for 2022, 2023.
I'd like to move to approve the Salem tuition rates for 2022, 2023 as follows. Base tuition rate, $15,274.96. Premium tuition rate, $34,004.37 as presented.
Anyone from Salem want to second that?
Second.
Thank you, Jen.
Was that Jen?
Jen, again.
Jen was- yeah.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Jen.
All those in favor? Sean, aye.
Aye, yeah.
And that passes unanimous. All right, and next on the agenda is an update on the East Lyme Public Schools Superintendent's proposed budget for fiscal year 2022, 2023.
Okay, hi, everybody. Jeff Newton, just give a quick update on where we are with our East Lyme budget we presented at the last Board of Ed meeting. We have had two workshops, budget workshops prior to that. We were upwards, as I mentioned, of around 10%. Did some work, quite a bit of work, and have that down to a 4.59, which is what we presented to the Board of Ed at the last meeting. And tonight, our next meeting will be discussions on that number and what that entails. Some of the major budget drivers of the increase of 4.59% increase over the current fiscal year are sitting around four areas. Number one, salaries. We have had obviously an increase in salaries, contracts, minimum wage is up. So salaries is 48, almost 50% of the 4.59% increase. 17% of that 4.59 is benefits. We're up 419,000. We put in 5% as a whole for health insurance. Hoping that does drop down. We're with the state partnership plan. We don't know for sure when and if that will happen, but we're keeping our fingers crossed that that 5% will drop down. For this current year, we had a 1.5% increase in health insurance from the state. We're part of the state partnership plan. The third item was contracted services, makes up about 325,000 or roughly 13-14% of the overall increase, the 4.59. Portion of that is some nursing costs. We have some additional nursing needs for some specific individuals who are identified under special education, and also some technology costs as well. And then utilities rounds it out, our fourth area, up about 278,000, 11.6% of the overall increase. And that, natural gas, our district, we only have one building of all of our buildings that runs on oil. The rest of them run on natural gas and propane. Some still use, high school uses propane as well, but mostly all of them are natural gas, and natural gas costs and propane costs. I'm sure if any of you have a home that runs on propane, or you know that the prices are up there for sure. So that's an increase of 278,000. Lastly, focus areas and ARP funding too. So we received about almost 1.8, 1.9 million in ARP ESSER funding to support the district. We covered a lot of positions this year with that funding, about $1.3 million of it. We have about $840,000 projected to be left for next year, which will apply to the overall budget as well. But even in doing that and some areas of focus, we've included some coaches, math and technology coaches to support our students, some additional intervention support at the high school, pathways and career components. We included that this year to support the high school and our Coastal Connections program, as well as our other one, technology advancements and SEL support, social and emotional supports, in addition of social work at the middle school, some psychology support at the elementary level, and that about rounds it up, or rounds it out. So again, 4.59% increase that was proposed to the Board of Ed. Board of Ed will deliberate and discuss starting tonight. Brian, I'll turn it over to you for Salem. Or unless somebody had any questions at all on our East Lyme budget?
Yeah, Jeff, real quick. Sorry, Sean. With the budget, are you doing anything different with staffing? Additions, reductions?
Yeah, we're trying to maintain that level of staffing supports that we put in this year with the funding. We've been able to repurpose some of them, but there's other positions. There's that 840,000 comes into play that's left. We're going to use that to cover some positions for next year. But once that money runs out, we're going to have a very hard time, as every other district is as well. But we've really tried to ramp up supports for students and the coaching model as well across our elementary and middle school for right now.
Thanks, Jeff. What else? Last question I have on that is student population. Are you seeing it staying flat? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing?
Roughly staying the same. There's still bubbles. So we've got a bubble at the middle school. So we're actually dissolving a kiva at the middle school because of a reduced population of students there. And there is some reductions at the high school for students as well. So we're looking at some, there's a bubble that's been working, two bubbles now that are actually working their way through. Fourth grade students coming up to fifth grade next year. We've got about 40 less students that are going to the middle school. So that's one bubble, and there's another bubble that's sitting in that middle school to high school range now. So that's about where, projected out though, Sean, we're supposed to level off at about 2,600 and maintain that roughly through 2030, 2031. So we hope that that stays that way or goes up. We prefer it to go back up, but we'll see where it goes.
And Jeff, is that like based on a NASDAQ projection, or did you guys get that from an independent study?
The independent study, as well as we do get the NASDAQ reports though too. So we do look at them, but we did that full out independent study with Malone and McBroom about was that 3 years ago? Not 4 years ago.
Lord. I would just like to add that I do believe that those numbers are going to come up. We've done a lot of
I think it was
development,
4.
a tremendous
4
amount
years
of
ago.
development.
4
Yeah,
years
so
ago.
hopefully those are going to continue to rise, Sean. That's our
And I'm
goal.
I'm right.
Candace has been accurate.
I'm
She said they're going
accurate.
up, so
Very accurate.
a lot of bustling around town with continued home sales and families moving in. We've seen that. We might have to look at a little bit of shifting with pockets of some newer developments that have occurred across town. So we'll see.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Does anyone else from Salem have any questions?
Yeah, you were proposing a 10%
No,
increase?
when we started out initially,
Yeah,
when we, rolled everything over our salaries and put all of the directors' proposals in, all the school budgets in, before even starting to work on bringing the number down, it was sitting around 10%. Then we
Right.
did all of our homework and work and efforts, reductions, repurposing, and we got it down to 4.59. So we cut it in half almost.
yeah. Well, forgive my ignorance, but
No. Good
what
question.
was the other 6%?
Oh, roughly staffing positions. That was without putting in that $840,000 too. So keep that in mind. That's a big chunk of it right there.
Okay.
Yeah, once we applied that, that brought it down lower as well.
So what that does, so Jeff, that's just gonna make next year's drill a little bit more difficult, right?
That's what we're worried about, Sean. I know. Yep, we gotta continue to do some repurposing and some soul searching as to what's gonna stay and what's gonna go when we think about 2024. So we'll see.
Yeah, I have a question. If I believe you said that you have 1.3 million for staff that you've covered with the ESSER funds.
This year, yes.
Yep. How does that figure into, or does it not figure into the calculation for tuition for our high school kids?
It wouldn't, Would it?
So it factors into the cost of, it's an EFS, so when we pull the number from the EFS, it includes all costs. Because
Okay,
all
through you.
costs,
Okay.
whether we're
All right.
funding which I don't know that we're funding high school, I have to look, but it would include all costs, including the grant money, because that's the cost. of our
so you're incorporating grant
operations.
money into, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so it would all be included in there.
So everything would be included.
Everything is included in the cost,
Yep.
in the base tuition cost, the special education costs, no. Any special education costs are
Yeah.
specific to the high school, with the exception of central office staffing, which is charged at 85%. Any
Got it.
regular education salaries
Would be included.
is
Okay. So those would be included, okay.
Did that
I'm
help?
sorry. So if you could clarify that for me, I couldn't hear that very well.
So the cost of any teacher that is, even if it's being paid for through a grant, would be part of the base regular ed tuition cost, because in the EFS, which is that annual report, which is audited, and where we pull that information, it's included in there as an expenditure for us to run our schools, regardless of where the funding source is. So any regular ed tuition, any regular ed salary would be included in the total cost, and then obviously a portion based on the percent of high school students over as a, so it's on page 1, it would be what this year is that 39.3%. Any special education teachers that are being charged there, any high school teacher would be included there. But if there's a teacher that's, at the middle school or elementary school, that's not included, because those costs are specific to the high school. I hope that answers.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Salem, any other questions? No. Okay. I'm gonna turn it over to Superintendent Brian Hendrickson, if you would like to do your update on your budget.
Sure. And again, nice to see everybody here virtually, meeting many of you for the first time. So nice to meet you all. Hope all is well in East Lyme. And you got it. So Jeff and I meet, regularly each month and stay on the same page. I feel free on the East Lyme side, if you have any questions, follow up with Jeff at any time. Happy to answer questions tonight as well, but given the format, if you just feel free, communication, keep it open all the time. So with many of the themes that Jeff outlined are also in play in Salem. And to summarize where we're at with our budget process so far, at a superintendent's budget proposal presentation at the January board meeting, we came in at 4.81%. and there's some variables attached to that. So an asterisk, if you will, with the 4.81%. And that 4.81% is a maintenance of effort budget. So all programming, all staffing, just rolling up to the next year. And the asterisks, the unknowns, the variables that are changing and are unknown until they come in, is the health insurance. That's a moving number, as you all are aware of. Buses, for us, I generally contract with the bus company for 8 buses, and we've been running at 7 this year, sometimes 6. So we have a declaration of intent notice out to all of our families to help us budget appropriately, each bus being $50,000. We're looking at that very closely. So that's an unknown. And then staffing in Salem, historically, we don't have an early notification incentive that you do have in East Lyme. So, going into budget season, which of your staff are going to be there and not be there. There's a payout for sick days at the end of the year. So that's another piece that we put into the mix this year. So on January 31st, we'll know about early notification of retirements that will impact our budgetary assumptions for staffing. And that is the date of our next workshop as well. And we have a couple other workshops scheduled before the board votes on the budget. And then Kim, am I missing anything?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Sean, anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, it's, I think you covered it pretty much, Brian. Well done.
All right. Happy to entertain any questions.
I actually have a question. Did you say you are doing a notice of intent for who's going to ride the buses?
Yeah, so to all families, we do a non-binding declaration of intent of if you plan on using the bus, districts around the state will use, it's like a survey, non-binding survey to get a prediction as to who's taking the bus. With the pandemic. That's been a real issue across the state. Bus, you have a surplus in unencumbered funds. Many districts do because they're running less
Yeah.
buses.
Have
So
you been
you-
able to cut stops or anything with that?
Well, this year we're contracted for 8 because so many more families. And again, Salem and East Lyme, I say this to Jeff all the time, it's little apples and oranges because we have one school.
You're right.
So we have a significant increase in the number of families that are dropping off and picking up. So because of that, we're able to run with 7, and sometimes the routes are combined and we're running on 6.
I like it.
Yeah, it'd be easier for them though.
Yeah,
because
because
of-
they only have one school.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a great tool and a great
It's a great
strategy.
tool. I like
Yeah,
it.
I love it.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? All right. I don't know if Salem is all set.
Everybody good?
Everybody good with their super?
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Welcome. Nice to meet everybody.
Is Chris Lund with us?
Or Chris,
I mean, Chris Urban, sorry.
he's on there.
I see him there.
Yay,
Chris.
Chris. There you are. Shared services with Salem. How's it going?
It's going good. We're still in the same obstacles that we were earlier in the year when I met with you guys, with both boards. Our supply chain is starting to get a little better, but as you know, going to the grocery store, prices have gone through the roof with a lot of especially on fresh produce or a lot of the protein items. The USDA announced last week that they're actually going to be increasing the reimbursement rate for schools, which is great news. Lunch is going to be going up to $4.56 per lunch and breakfast up to $2.60. They do not know, and this will run through June 31st, like it was planned for all students to be free. They have not released what the plan is for next year yet. With that, if they do end up going back to the old model of having the free reduced regular paid students. All school districts are going to be forced to raise their rates just because of the inflationary rate of food now. Because I believe you guys are right around $3. That's $3.25 for lunch. I think was about the rate Salem was, and East Lyme ran from $3.50 to around $3 for our meals. Obviously, that would have to jump quite a bit to get to where the federal reimbursement rate wants everybody. So that would kind of be a sticker shock.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a lot of families. If you got to jump from,
$3 to $5.
Yeah,
but, yeah,
a day.
a day, exactly.
Right.
Good news is that we were part of a CEP. The state of Connecticut was part of a CEP study group, and they believe that even though maybe the rest of the country might go back to paying full price, Connecticut might stay free an additional year. So we might stretch out an extra year over other states that might not have participated in that program. And I believe a lot of that money is in the infrastructure plan that they just passed. I know that they do have full funding for the universal feeding forever in the Build Back Better plan. Well, we all know that things aren't going that great in Washington right now, so we're kind of not waiting for that to happen. But the state is hoping that it happens, but we'll have to wait and see down the road. But they are pushing the USDA to let us know as soon as possible for next year, so we can start planning that as far as those things go. Day to day has been very good. Actually, Salem, we just set a day record for this year at 245 lunches the other day and 143 breakfasts in one day. So, so there's a lot of students that are taking advantage of the program. We did have a little dip right before Christmas and after, with, as you know, there was a lot of students out with COVID related issues. But it seems the last week or so, those numbers have really climbed back up to where they were before that dip. So it's kind of a good sign that we're kind of going in the right direction as far as COVID just with the kids. That's the most important thing. And the same thing was going on, say, at East Lyme too. We did have a dip around that holiday period and after in COVID numbers, but now it seems we're getting back to that higher percentages that we were doing before that. Does anybody have any questions?
I was gonna say, thanks, Chris. I think East Lyme's good. Salem?
Chris, thank you. Yeah, that was good.
Thank you, Chris.
You have a good night.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. And Chris is a big Buffalo Bills fan.
Oh, poor Chris.
Just gotta throw that out there.
That was tough last night.
It was a good game though, so
It was a great game.
I don't mind going out like that.
It was a great game, just tough.
That's right.
And plus we destroyed the Patriots the week before, so
And that's
that was pretty much my Super Bowl. So I'm good.
All right, goodbye, Chris.
Bye, Chris. I'm not a Patriots fan, so go Bills. Future agenda items for next meeting. Anyone from East Lyme, Candace?
I just want to maybe approach, we've shared the services with our food service program. I think that's been very beneficial, and that if anyone has any ideas of where we can collaborate more or possibly help each other, I think that might be something to worth discussion.
All right. Anyone else from East Lyme? Salem, any future agenda items?
Yeah, I got one idea. Kim, you're gonna hate it. So I figure it could give both Mariana and Kim, you both at least a year lead time to figure this one out. But I think it would be helpful if we put an agenda item next year to have a 5-year look back at comparing the proposed versus reconciled general tuition and special education tuition rates, and just compare them. And the purpose of doing that is really to see if we couldn't figure out year over year what were the big drivers that would change those. Because what I do struggle with is I do struggle with there being a year where we have a negative tuition rate followed by a very, very, very small 1% tuition increase to an 8%. And for me, it'll just, and Brian, it's going to be hard for you to describe it. But I think it would just do us all, definitely on the Salem side, a bit of good if we just have really good understanding of the workings of how that happens. And I think doing that tonight wouldn't be fruitful because I don't think we've got the data ahead of us. But I think next year, looking forward, we could probably plan to have a good discussion on that.
I like it.
Can I just ask a question or no?
Go ahead.
Would it be helpful for a representative like Mariana to come, maybe to help navigate the conversation about the rate? Or would you rather not do something like that, or?
I will never turn down help.
We could start with Mariana and Kim, an
Have a
initial
conversation.
conversation, right? And then,
I mean, I can even, I have it all, like, I can explain, I mean, without getting into depth, like, that 30, like I mentioned to you, and I'll just quickly, that 39% portion of what makes up, like, when we did the reconciliation, and even last year, high school made up 37.7 or 37.5% of the enrollment in the East Lyme School District. Well, when I did the reconciliation for 2021, it's higher at 39 point something percent. So I just did a quick calculation, and that's up. If we were at the 37, so I put in last year's 37%. If we were at around that 37.5% like we have been over the last few years, your rate would have been almost $600 less just on the regular ed side, which then reduces your special ed side. Same thing with the special ed population. We had 139 last year, and this year we only have 131. I didn't do that calculation, I will, but I'm happy to put something together first and see what, if that helps, and then if it doesn't, I'm happy to.
I mean, I think it probably, it could help. I don't want you to go crazy, but I think just having.
So I have all the information.
Yeah.
I can easily just pull it together in a quick little.
Sure. I'm just thinking like that, what you just described is actually really helpful. Just having that working knowledge, understanding that, the percentage of Salem student ratio, as that fluctuates, that's got a huge bearing on what that rate increase would be, right? And as the population, there's a sensitivity to the Salem tuition rate to the actual quantity of East Lyme students attending the East Lyme High School. And so if there's a population decrease over there, that's going to affect us in terms of rates. And I think that's just that's a good working understanding to understand, for our purpose to describe it and just to, just have a little bit of a future forecasting model.
Any from Salem have a future agenda item?
Sorry, it's Sean, one more time. Not an agenda item, but I'll ask an embarrassing question. What's the name of your chair over there again?
It's Eric Bauman.
Eric.
And he is not here tonight.
Okay.
yeah.
So it's me,
Okay. Who's me?
Jamie.
Jamie, thank you.
Hi, Sean.
Sorry, Sean.
All right. Yeah, I swear to you, I hate Zoom. I really do.
Oh, it's
We'll get back on site hopefully together.
soon.
So cram around this table like we've done, or up your way.
Yeah, either one. That works. Great.
All right, are we good? Sean, you want to make a motion to adjourn?
Jen, would you do us the honor?
Motion to adjourn.
It's tradition in Salem. It's only Jen's can make that motion.
Jen. And it's usually me. Does anyone here want?
I'll second.
Hannah seconds. All right, Sean.
I'm in
all
favor.
All
All
in
in
favor?
favor?
Good night.
Good night,
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Night.
Bye.
Yes, now we need a financial.